In a world full of noise, distraction, and shallow performance, what does it mean to live wisely? The ancient Greek philosopher Plato believed that true greatness comes not from appearing strong, but from being strong where it matters most, within yourself. To do less, but do it well. To conquer not the world, but your own impulses. To stay silent when empty minds shout the loudest. To think deeply, as if your soul were speaking to itself. And to speak the truth, even when it makes you the enemy. In this video, we explore 5 timeless quotes from Plato, words that still echo across centuries, calling us back to truth, discipline, and inner clarity. Principle 1: Choose excellence over excess. Better a little which is well done, than a great deal imperfectly. The temptation of more. In today's world, quantity often overshadows quality. We're praised for how much we produce, how fast we deliver, how many tasks we juggle. But Plato warns us. More doesn't mean better. Bigger doesn't mean wiser. Speed doesn't equal mastery. In fact, when we spread ourselves too thin, we do many things, but none of them well. And so we live with noise, not music. Motion, not progress. Busyness, not brilliance. The story of the 2 builders. Once, a wealthy man hired 2 builders to construct homes. The first promised speed and size: "I will give you 5 houses in a month." The second promised care: "I will give you 1 house, built to last." A month later, the first builder finished 5 houses, rushed, unstable, cracking. The second builder delivered 1, simple, but strong, beautiful, enduring. 10 years later, only 1 house still stood. The wealthy man said, "I paid for many roofs, but only 1 gave shelter." The quiet power of doing one thing well. There is strength in simplicity. There is honor in focus. There is nobility in craftsmanship. Whether you're writing a script, filming a single meaningful video, having a conversation, building a life, do it well. Not for the spotlight, but for the soul. How to practice excellence in a distracted world. Do less, but do it right. Don't chase volume. Chase depth. 1 honest sentence is worth more than 10 hollow speeches. Finish what you start. Many begin with passion but abandon halfway. Excellence demands follow-through. Take pride in your craft. Whether cleaning, speaking, or creating, do it with presence. The act itself becomes sacred. Be patient with mastery. Rushed work is rarely remembered. Mastery is slow. Accept that. Define your own standard. Don't compare. Ask, is this my best? If yes, that is enough. Why this principle matters today? Because in a world addicted to more, most people live wide but shallow. They chase success but miss fulfillment. They collect moments but lose meaning. Plato invites us to return to the center. To value the well done over the much done. To build a life of intention, not impression. Final reflection. Your greatest work may not be the loudest. It may not go viral. It may not win applause. But if it's done with care, it will endure. It will touch. It will matter. As Plato said, better a little which is well done, than a great deal imperfectly. So today, don't aim for everything. Aim for one thing, done with your whole heart. Because in the end, the world needs less noise. And more things done well. Principle 2: Win the battle within. The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. The hardest enemy is the one inside you. We spend most of our lives fighting outward battles, chasing success, proving our worth, defending our image. But Plato tells us, your true battlefield is not out there. It is within. Your impulses. Your fears. Your laziness. Your ego. Your distractions. These are the enemies that rob you of peace, purpose, and power, not people, not fate, not the world. To conquer yourself is not to suppress, but to master. The warrior who fought nothing but himself. There is a tale of an ancient warrior, undefeated in every duel, feared across kingdoms. Yet at the end of his life, he wept. A boy asked, "Why are you crying? You've won every battle." The warrior replied, "Yes, except the one that mattered. I conquered lands, but not my rage. I defeated kings, but not my pride. I fought the world, but never faced myself. And so, the strongest man died unfree." Plato would say, that man was never victorious. What self-conquest truly means. It's not about control through force. It's not about perfection or cold discipline. It's about self-awareness. To see your emotions without being ruled by them. To hear your ego without obeying it. To have urges, and choose differently. This is the highest form of freedom. To do what is right, not just what is easy. To delay gratification. To choose virtue when no one is watching. How to begin mastering yourself. Daily self-reflection. Ask each evening, where did I lose control today? Where did I choose well? Strengthen the pause. Between impulse and action, create a pause. In that space, you reclaim power. Train small disciplines. Wake early. Hold silence. Finish what you start. Every small conquest builds the habit of mastery. Detach from the ego. Don't fight for pride. Observe when your need to prove something overrides your peace. Suffer well. Learn to carry difficulty with grace. To not react emotionally is strength. To endure it with clarity is wisdom. Why this victory matters most? Because if you don't rule yourself, the world will. You'll be driven by trends, by validation, by comparison. You'll be pulled by fear, by resentment, by chaos. You'll look successful on the outside, but be enslaved within. True freedom is not to do whatever you want. It's to want what is worthy, and to act on it. Final reflection. Plato knew what modern society forgets. That ruling an empire is impressive. But ruling your impulses is divine. Because the person who conquers themselves speaks with intention, acts with integrity, lives with purpose, sleeps in peace. So when you wake tomorrow, don't ask, how can I defeat the world? Ask, how can I master myself? As Plato said, the first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. And when you win that war, every other battle becomes clear. Principle 3, let depth speak, not noise. An empty vessel makes the loudest sound. Loud doesn't mean wise. Scroll through any platform today, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and what do you find? Noise. Opinions shouted without thought. Confidence without substance. Boastfulness without achievement. Plato warns us. What is loud is often hollow. What is deep is often quiet. Just like an empty drum echoes loudly, the shallow person often makes the most noise, not because they have something to say, but because they're desperate to be heard. The man who spoke without speaking. In ancient Athens, there was a man known for his silence. Others debated, argued, performed. He listened. When he finally spoke, even the wisest leaned in. Why? Because his words were not many, but meaningful. Not loud, but lasting. One student asked, "Why do you speak so little?" He replied, "Because the more I understand, the less I need to prove." That is the difference between noise and wisdom. What this principle teaches us. True strength doesn't need to announce itself. True wisdom doesn't need applause. True confidence doesn't compete. The louder you are, the more you may be trying to fill a void. But when you're truly rooted, in values, in knowledge, in peace, your presence says more than your voice ever could. Practices to cultivate quiet depth. Speak less, observe more. Don't rush to reply. Listen not just to words, but to intent, tone, silence. Resist the urge to impress. Share only when it serves, not when it strokes your ego. Let your actions echo. Don't tell people what you're doing. Let the quality of your work reveal it. Keep a private inner life. Not everything needs to be posted. Some things gain power in solitude. Learn from stillness. Sit in silence daily. It strengthens your center, and empties the need for performance. Why this is so needed today? Because we live in an age that confuses volume with value, attention with wisdom, performance with presence. But the people who make the most lasting difference aren't always the loudest. They're the ones who carry substance, not ego. They build slowly. Speak wisely. Walk quietly. And they leave behind echoes, not noise. Final reflection. Plato wasn't just warning us about others. He was inviting us to look within. To ask, am I making noise to be seen? Or am I building substance to be felt? Because in the end, an empty vessel makes the loudest sound. But a full vessel, filled with experience, reflection, discipline, doesn't need to shout. It simply radiates. So choose to be the kind of person who doesn't need to be loud. Because their depth speaks louder than words ever could. Principle 4. Think as a dialogue with your soul. Thinking, the talking of the soul with itself. What if your thoughts were a conversation with your soul? We often treat thinking like a tool, to solve problems, to make plans, to react. But Plato offers a radical shift. Thinking is not just function. It's communion. A sacred dialogue, between who you are now, and who you're meant to become. That changes everything. Because if thinking is the soul speaking to itself, then every thought is not just a flash of the brain. It's a reflection of your essence. The mirror you carry inside. There's a legend of a traveler who sought wisdom from every temple and teacher across the land. But none gave him peace. One night, he sat beside a quiet stream and whispered, "Where do I find truth?" A voice replied, "Not from outside, but within. You've asked every voice, except your own." He realized. His soul had been speaking all along. He just hadn't learned how to listen. That's what Plato means. Thinking is not noise. It is listening to yourself, with clarity, with courage, with care. The problem with today's thinking. Today, most of us don't think. We react. We echo. We scroll. We distract ourselves from thinking, because true thinking forces us to face what we fear. Am I living with purpose? Am I avoiding truth? Am I betraying what I know is right? Plato challenges us. Don't run from your thoughts. Sit with them. Talk with them. Grow from them. How to think like a philosopher, and a soul. Create sacred time for thought. Even 10 minutes a day, no phone, no noise. Just sit. Ask questions. Reflect. Write your inner dialogue. Journaling is the soul's voice made visible. Let your thoughts converse on paper. Ask higher questions. Not, what do I want, but what is worthy of wanting. Not, what should I do, but what kind of person do I wish to become. Challenge what you assume. Real thinking begins when we question our own thinking. Let silence finish your sentences. Sometimes the soul speaks not in words, but in what remains after the words fall away. Why this principle is life-changing? Because the world today is loud, but shallow. Everyone has something to say. Few know how to listen, even to themselves. But the greatest transformations don't begin from shouting louder. They begin from thinking deeper. Plato invites us to not just think about life, but to think with life, in conversation, in humility, in truth. Final reflection. What if every thought you had was not random? What if it was your soul reaching for clarity? Then you'd take your thoughts seriously. You'd filter them for truth. You'd return to them with reverence. As Plato said, thinking, the talking of the soul with itself. So before the world tells you who to be, sit down. Be still. And ask your soul, what do I know, when I stop pretending not to know? In that moment, you don't just think. You awaken. Principle 5, dare to speak the truth. No one is more hated than he who speaks the truth. Why truth feels like a threat? We say we love the truth. But in reality, we prefer comfort. And truth is not comfortable. It disturbs illusions. It exposes hypocrisy. It challenges power. It forces change. So when someone dares to speak the truth, not a version, not a softened edit, but the real thing, people react not with gratitude, but with anger. Plato knew this. And he wasn't speaking theory. He lived it. The man who spoke truth and was killed for it. Socrates, Plato's mentor, was the embodiment of truth-telling. He didn't flatter the crowds. He didn't fear the elite. He questioned. He probed. He revealed. And for that, he was condemned to death. His crime? Corrupting the minds of the youth. His real offense? Telling them to think for themselves. Plato witnessed the trial. The injustice. The silence of the crowd. From that moment on, he knew. To speak the truth is not only rare. It is dangerous. Why the truth-teller is hated. Truth breaks the mirror of self-deception. People don't hate you, they hate the part of themselves that your truth reveals. Truth is a mirror, not a mask. It doesn't play along. It doesn't soothe egos. It reflects reality as it is. Truth-tellers are reminders of conscience. Your courage makes others uncomfortable with their silence. Truth costs more than lies. Lies get applause. Truth often gets exile. But only one can save a soul. How to speak the truth, and survive it. Anchor your motive. Speak truth not to win, but to serve. Let your words come from compassion, not superiority. Practice inner fortitude. Expect rejection. Stay grounded. You're not here to be liked, you're here to be real. Pick your moments wisely. Not all ears are ready. Plant seeds. Let time and silence do the rest. Stand, even if alone. Often the truth begins with one voice. Be that voice, calmly, firmly, without hatred. Let action carry the truth further than words. Live it. Embody it. People may argue with your words, but they can't deny a life that reflects integrity. Why this principle is needed now. In an era of polished branding, curated lifestyles, and digital masks, truth is a revolutionary act. To tell the truth is to cut through noise. To expose the game. To return to reality. And though you may be misunderstood, disliked, or even silenced, you remain free. Because nothing is heavier than a lie. And nothing is lighter than a conscience that stood for truth. Final reflection. Plato's words are not a warning. They are a call. To speak the truth, not loudly, not arrogantly, but bravely. You may lose friends. You may lose approval. But you will gain something rarer. Your soul will know it stood for something. As Plato said, no one is more hated than he who speaks the truth. But history remembers the truth-tellers. Not the crowds who booed them. So when the moment comes, and it will, Speak. Not because it's safe. Not because it's easy. But because truth is what frees the world. And more importantly, it's what frees you. In the end, the loudest voices will fade. But the quiet strength of self-mastery, honest thought, and truth, that's what endures. What Plato gave us wasn't just philosophy, it was a mirror. A challenge. Will you live well, or just loudly? If these quotes sparked something in you, share it. Let it grow. Subscribe to True Grit Mind, where we uncover ancient wisdom to live a stronger, more meaningful life. Think deeply. Live deliberately. Until next time.